I'll just add my welcome both to Bill and Arif and to all of you. Just a few words on format before we get started because, as Ian said, time is of the essence tonight. Each speaker is going to be given 20 minutes to make their initial presentation. That will be first Bill and then Arif. Bill, I think, is going to use this PowerPoint presentations to help his presentation, but I hope you've all got something from both of them in front of you as an outline of some of their arguments. After they've both had their initial 20-minute presentation, they each will be given 12 minutes for rebuttal. So first again to Bill, then to Arif, and then I'll open the floor for questions. I'm afraid this will be strictly questions, not comments, so you will only get 30 seconds to ask your question. So if you're thinking about questions as we go along, please keep them extremely concise. My secret weapon is this gong, which I will use to keep the speakers in order initially, and then to keep you as questioners in order after that. And I'll ask the questions in alternate order, as it were. First one for Bill, then one for Arif, and then backwards and forwards like that. So I think we'll go straight to it. I will ask Bill to make his initial 20-minute presentation. So over to you, Bill.
Good, thank you. Well, good evening. I am delighted to be here this evening, and I want to begin by thanking Christian Heritage for the invitation to participate in tonight's debate. I find it always a delight to come back to Cambridge University, which in my mind is the closest thing to a scholar's heaven on earth that I can think of. And I also want to thank Dr. Ahmed for his willingness to join in the discussion this evening. It's my sincere hope that today's debate will be a significant help to you in your own thinking about this most important of questions. So, does God exist? Well, in order to answer that question rationally, we've got to address two further questions. First, what good reasons are there to think that God exists? And secondly, what good reasons are there to think that God does not exist? Now, I'll leave it up to Dr. Ahmed to present the arguments against God's existence. But I note that atheists have tried for centuries to disprove the existence of God, but no one's been able to come up with a successful argument. So rather than attack straw men at this point, I'll just wait to hear Dr. Ahmed's answer to the following question. What good reasons are there to think that atheism is true? Let's look then at the first question. What good reasons are there to think that God exists? Tonight I'm going to present 5 arguments in favor of God's existence. Whole books have been written on each one of these, and so all I can do is present a brief sketch of each argument and then go into more detail as Dr. Ahmed responds to them. So, number 1, God's existence is implied by the origin of the universe. Have you ever asked yourself where the universe came from? Why everything exists instead of just nothing? Well, typically atheists have just said that the universe is eternal and uncaused. But the idea of a beginningless universe faces severe philosophical and scientific problems. If the universe never had a beginning, that means that the number of past events in the history of the universe is infinite. But mathematicians recognize that the existence of an actually infinite number of things leads to self-contradictions. For example, what is infinity minus infinity? Well, mathematically, you get self-contradictory answers. This shows that infinity is just an idea in your mind, not something that exists in reality. David Hilbert, perhaps the greatest mathematician of the 20th century, writes, "The infinite is nowhere to be found in reality. It neither exists in nature nor provides a legitimate basis for rational thought. The role that remains for the infinite to play is solely that of an idea." But that entails that since past events are not just ideas, but are real, the number of past events must be finite. Therefore, the series of past events can't go back forever. Rather, the universe must have begun to exist. This conclusion has been confirmed by remarkable discoveries in astronomy and astrophysics. In one of the most startling developments of modern science, we now have pretty strong evidence that the universe is not eternal in the past, but had an absolute beginning about 13 billion years ago in a cataclysmic event known as the Big Bang. What makes the Big Bang so startling is that it represents the origin of the universe from literally nothing. For all matter and energy, even physical space and time themselves, came into being at the Big Bang. As the physicist P.C.W. Davies explains, the coming into being of the universe, as discussed in modern science, is not just a matter of imposing some sort of organization upon a previous incoherent state, but literally the coming into being of all physical things from nothing. That description holds not only for the standard Big Bang model, but also for quantum gravity models like that of Stephen Hawking. And thus Hawking reports in his book, The Nature of Space and Time, almost everyone now believes that the universe and time itself had a beginning at the Big Bang. Now, this tends to be very awkward for the atheist. For as Anthony Kinney of Oxford University urges, a proponent of the Big Bang theory, at least if he is an atheist, must believe that the universe came from nothing and by nothing. But surely that doesn't make sense. For such a conclusion is, in the words of the philosopher of science Bernhard Konigschieder, in head-on collision with the most successful ontological commitment in the history of science, namely the metaphysical principle that out of nothing, nothing comes. So, why does the universe exist rather than just nothing? Where did it come from? There must have been a cause which brought the universe into being. Now, we can summarize our argument thus far as follows. 1, everything that comes into being has a cause. And 2, the universe came into being. From this, it follows logically that 3, therefore, the universe has a cause. Now, as the cause of space and time, this being must be an uncaused, timeless, spaceless, immaterial being of unfathomable power. Moreover, I would argue it must be personal as well. Why? Let me give 2 reasons. First of all, this cause must be greater than the universe. Think of the universe, all of space and time. So the cause of the universe must be beyond space and time. Therefore, it cannot be physical or material. Now, there are only 2 kinds of things that fit that description. Either abstract objects, like numbers, or else an intelligent mind. But abstract objects can't cause anything. Therefore, it follows that the cause of the universe is a transcendent personal mind. Second reason, how else could a timeless cause give rise to a temporal effect, like the universe? If the cause were an impersonal set of necessary and sufficient conditions, then the cause could never exist without its effect. If the cause were permanently present, then the effect would be permanently present as well. The only way for the cause to be timeless and the effect to begin in time is for the cause to be a personal agent who freely chooses to create an effect in time without any prior determining conditions. And thus we're brought not merely to a transcendent cause of the universe, but to its personal creator. Number 2, the fine-tuning of the universe for intelligent life points to a designer of the cosmos. In recent decades, scientists have been stunned by the discovery that the initial conditions of the Big Bang were fine-tuned for the existence of intelligent life with a precision and delicacy that literally defy human comprehension. This fine-tuning is of 2 sorts. First, when the laws of nature are expressed as mathematical equations, you find appearing in them certain constants, like the gravitational constant. These constants are not determined by the laws of nature. Rather, the laws of nature are consistent with a wide range of values for these constants. Secondly, in addition to these constants, there are certain arbitrary quantities, which are just put in as initial conditions on which the laws of nature operate. For example, the amount of entropy, or the balance between matter and antimatter in the early universe. Now, all of these constants and quantities fall into an extraordinarily narrow range of life-permitting values. Were these constants or quantities to be altered by even a hair's breadth, the life-permitting balance would be destroyed and life would not exist. For example, if the atomic weak force, or the force of gravity, were altered by as little as 1 part out of 10 to the 100th power, the universe would not have been life-permitting. Now, there are only 3 possible explanations of this extraordinary fine-tuning. The fine-tuning of the universe is due to either physical necessity, chance, or design. Now, it can't be due to physical necessity because, as we've seen, the constants and quantities are independent of the laws of nature. So, could the fine-tuning be due to chance? Well, the problem with this alternative is that the odds against the fine-tunings occurring by accident are so incomprehensibly great that they cannot be reasonably faced. Perhaps an illustration would help. If we imagine the range of possible values for the constants and quantities upon which our existence depends to be as wide as the entire known universe, then the range of life-permitting values is about 2.5 centimeters wide by comparison. The probability that all of the constants and quantities would fall by chance alone into the narrow life-permitting range is vanishingly small. We now know that life-prohibiting universes are vastly more probable than any life-permitting universe like ours. So if the universe were a product of chance, the odds are overwhelming that the universe should be life-prohibiting. Hence, 2, the fine-tuning is not due to either physical necessity or chance, but logically that implies 3, therefore it is due to design. Thus, the fine-tuning of the universe implies the existence of a designer of the cosmos. Number 3, objective moral values are plausibly grounded in God. If God does not exist, then objective moral values do not exist. By objective moral values, I mean values which are valid and binding, whether anybody believes in them or not. Many theists and atheists agree that if God does not exist, then moral values are not objective in this way. For example, Michael Ruse, a noted philosopher of science, explains, the problem or the position of the modern evolutionist is that morality is a biological adaptation, no less than our hands and feet and teeth. Considered as a rationally justifiable set of claims about an objective something, ethics is illusory. I appreciate that when somebody says, love thy neighbor as thyself, they think they are referring above and beyond themselves. Nevertheless, such reference is truly without foundation. Morality is just an aid to survival and reproduction, and any deeper meaning is illusory. Friedrich Nietzsche, the great 19th century atheist who proclaimed the death of God, understood that the death of God meant the destruction of all meaning and value in life. I think that Friedrich Nietzsche was right. But we've got to be very careful here. The question here is not, must we believe in God in order to live moral lives? I'm not claiming that we must. Nor is the question, can we recognize objective moral values without believing in God? I think that we can. Rather, the question is, if God does not exist, do objective moral values